If you're standing in a jewelry studio or a small-scale lab and wondering whether a big-ticket balance like the Mettler Toledo JP16001G/A is really the right tool for you, that's the question we'll answer today. Who actually benefits from this level of precision, who can safely walk away, and does the price make sense for a typical everyday buyer? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The decision isn't just about the numbers on the spec sheet, it's about how the device fits into a real workflow, how often you'll need that ultra-fine resolution, and what you might be sacrificing elsewhere. First off, let's talk about the kind of situation where a large jewelry balance becomes a necessity. Imagine you're a jeweler who regularly handles antique pieces, gemstone grading, or custom metalwork where you need to verify the weight of a setting to within a few hundredths of a gram. In those moments, you're not just counting inventory, you're trying to maintain the integrity of a piece that could be worth thousands. That's the sweet spot for the Mettler Toledo JP16001G/A. Its monoblock weighing technology promises an extremely long operation life, and that durability matters when you're running a shop all day, 5 days a week, with the balance constantly being moved between workbenches. On the flip side, if you're a hobbyist who only occasionally needs to weigh small charms or a couple of gold rings a month, you may be overpaying for a machine built for industrial-grade consistency. The unit's footprint, while not massive, is still larger than a typical countertop scale, and the protective cover adds a slight extra dimension. For a casual user, that extra real estate can feel cumbersome, especially if you're trying to fit the balance on a cramped desk or in a small studio space. In those cases, a more compact, lower-cost digital scale could do the job without the heavyweight price tag. Now, let's break down the practical strengths that matter once you have the device in your hands. The high-contrast HCD display is one of those subtle but critical features. When you're working under a bright lamp or in a shop with lots of reflective metal surfaces, a clear readout reduces the chance of misreading a value by a fraction. I've seen a few jewelers stumble over a misread because the screen was washed out, so this display helps keep errors at bay. The built-in density determination application is another time saver. Rather than pulling out a separate tool to calculate density, you can input the material's volume directly into the balance and get an immediate reading. In practice, that means you can verify whether a stone is genuine or synthetic in seconds, which is a real advantage when you're evaluating a batch of loose gemstones. Overload protection and the protective cover are more than just safety features, they're part of a design philosophy that assumes the balance will be placed in a busy environment. Overloading a delicate scale can ruin its calibration, and a protective cover guards against accidental knocks or spills, a common occurrence when you're measuring metals that might splatter or when you have to set the balance down quickly between jobs. For a professional who can't afford downtime, that ruggedness translates directly into productivity. On the downside, the battery operation, while useful for quick checks, only supports short bursts of use. If you're planning to rely on the balance for extended weighing sessions without easy access to a power outlet, you'll find yourself swapping batteries more often than you'd like. That's a practical trade-off, the convenience of portability versus the reliability of a continuous power source. Additionally, while the monoblock technology ensures stability, it does come with a higher initial cost that many small businesses might find hard to justify, especially in the early stages when cash flow is tight. Another subtle limitation is the learning curve associated with the built-in density application. It's a powerful tool, but you need to understand the correct method for inputting volume measurements and interpreting the results. For someone who's never used density calculations in a jewelry context, there is a brief adjustment period. The user manual provides a decent walkthrough, but you'll likely spend a few evenings tinkering before it becomes second nature. If you're looking for a plug-and-play experience with minimal setup, a simpler scale without that advanced function might feel more comfortable. When evaluating value for money, consider the cost of alternative solutions. A standard high-precision digital scale might cost a fraction, perhaps half of what this Mettler Toledo model commands. However, those cheaper options often lack the robust housing and overload protection, and their displays can be harder to read under shop lighting. In my experience, The extra investment pays off when you need consistent accuracy across many weighings per day, and when the cost of a single misweighed gemstone could dwarf the price difference between scales. For a professional jeweler or a small lab that processes frequent, high-value items, the return on investment becomes clearer. Let's paint a typical day scenario. You receive a shipment of raw gold bar stock, and you must confirm each bar's